Welcome into MJT Football. My name is Tony Tucker. I'm joined by NFL Mike. This is definitely not the mask I would wear to rob a bank and then also wear to SoFi Stadium. Wrong button. I botched this.
No. Oh, Tony, hey, welcome. I didn't know who that was that hijacked the show a second ago.
That was an epic fail. I almost ended the broadcast. I hit the wrong button, and it was like, do you want to end broadcast? And I was like, no, I'm just trying to do this stupid bit to make fun of Chiefs fans. So Mike was telling me about the story. Before we get into it, this is MJT Football. If you're listening to the audio version, hop on over to YouTube and subscribe over here so you can get in the comments and talk live. But however you're listening, we appreciate it. We're three friends who love talking football. But we're always looking for a fourth, so hit the subscribe button, become one of the fours over here. Joe Moore will be back for our Wednesday show. Stephen Armstrong in the chat, getting us started off. We appreciate you. Mike's telling me about this crazy story before, and I had heard nothing about it. Mike, go.
Yeah, I'm sure Harrison heard about it. It's probably going all around. I also just posted a TikTok about it about a half an hour ago. But popular Chiefs super fan a couple months ago got in trouble for robbing banks with his Chiefs fandom mask on. So he dressed up like as a wolf, and he was like a Chiefs wolf / alcoholic. He's just chugging beers and taking shots from anyone that'll give it to him. Anyways, he got in trouble for robbing banks in the wolf mask and was going through that whole process in the courts. Actually got let out from jail to serve some of his time on house arrest. And today he was supposed to show up in court, never showed up, apparently cut his ankle bracelet off without triggering it somehow, and has fled the country and now is on the run. $1 million bond, and Dog the Bounty Hunter has already tweeted that he's on the case.
Good for him. And if this guy's smart, he's in some place where there's no extradition treaty, right? Like he can't be taken back. And I would actually get property right on wherever the line is, like just to taunt people. Like I would just live there, feet up, sunshine, sipping mojitos. But knowing this guy, he'd get so wasted, he'd stumble over the line where he could be captured and taken back and turned in for the reward. But like I was saying to Mike, if he didn't hurt anybody, right? Like as long as he didn't hurt anybody, he just robbed some banks. I'm okay with him kind of skipping bail and running away. Like whatever.
You gotta do. And I don't know how many banks he robbed, but I'm sure depending on how many he robbed is determining the severity of what his sentence was going to be. So maybe he was like, hey, I'm about to get something really extreme, especially since now I'm kind of a public figure and the news has reported on me getting busted for this. Might as well dip out of here and go full send. Try and get away with it. I was saying in that TikTok post, Tony, the Chiefs are playing in Germany next year. What if camera pans and there he is in the crowd?
He's like, oh, got you suckers! Oh, free man! He's just over there doing a TikTok dance.
So, man.
This is like, I can't be the only person who's watching this, listening to this podcast, and was cheering. I cheered for Ben Affleck in The Town. Like, I know Mike hasn't seen this movie. It's about bank robbers in Boston. I'm cheering for Ben Affleck to get away in The Town. I wasn't cheering for John Hamm to make the arrest. I'm sorry. I'm just that kind of person. I was rooting for him to get away. Okay, let's get into football talk. Zero, how are you? Hope the hand's healed up nicely. Harrison, how we feeling? We feeling better? We got our energy back. We got over our sickness. Feeling 100% again. And Steven, always strong. What's going on, brother? How about these Panthers? I know, added DJ Chark, which I thought was a nice pick. Here's the thing. You're bringing in some wide receivers, Thielen and Chark. Who's throwing him the football? That's what we're all waiting to know. And if you watched the Josh McCown, he seemed to be in love with CJ Stroud. What does it say?
They're still talking about the bank robberies, but they're quoting you, I think. As long as he only robbed some banks, no big deal. Let him go.
I mean, here's the thing. If he got caught, I'm fine with that too. But if he didn't get caught and all he did was rob some banks, Come on.
I'm
Nobody
rooting against him naturally just because he's a Chiefs fan. He's already had enough wins in his life. Time to go to jail, buddy.
Oh, that just makes total sense. They were the referees on the case. They probably just let him go, just like they do all the penalties. Chiefs rack
Just
up.
let him get away with it. Just let him get away with it. Oh man. But yeah, let's talk about some football. Let's talk about some football.
Let's talk football. Please get me focused.
Okay, so here we go. We got a few topics for today's show. Please, everyone that's tuned in to the chat here on YouTube, if you're tuned in on TikTok, come to YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. We'll start off here just because it's such a Bill Belichick thing to do. But both Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick at this meeting, whatever's going on, they do an annual meeting with the media there. I don't even know where they are. Do you know where they're doing these meetings at?
I don't. I thought the meetings weren't until in April. I didn't know
But they're going down right now, especially with the coaches. And the coaches were asked questions by the media. And Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick were asked about Mac Jones. And Robert Kraft said last year he was in favor of trying out some different quarterbacks in there. And Bill Belichick said heading into this year, not Mac Jones is the QB1 and is going to be the starter for the New England Patriots like he would if it was Tom Brady or even Cam Newton, apparently. He said that the best player they have at quarterback will play quarterback for the Patriots. The question is, does Bill think that that's Mac Jones or Bailey Zapp or Zappy?
Yeah, you almost were subjected. Before Mike told us that story, you were almost subjected to me making a stupid joke whether or not Bill Belichick was going to choose mac and cheese or Zappy soup. That was going to be a joke to open the show.
I'm glad I held my drink.
Even though I still wedged it in here. This is the thing with Bill. I think Bill's trying to regain some power back to the organization. Because remember all the stuff that came out when Mac Jones did the tell-all book with whoever that reporter was from for the big Boston sports reporter. Can't think of the name right now, but he was just talking about how crappy the organization was working on the inside and having Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator. Like, I think that Bill Belichick is trying to say, like, hey, I want you to understand something, Mac. I got 6 Super Bowl rings, okay? So you don't get to come in here and then just change how this organization has been successfully run for 2 decades and just start blabbing your mouth. We're not even sure. We're not even committed to you long term. And Booty Bandit put it in here, and people were making fun of me in the video because I said I heard reports. And they're like, who are your sources there, Tony? We've all heard or seen reports that Bill Belichick could be interested in Lamar Jackson. Like, I think that's a real option that if it gets to the point where a team is out there wanting to bring him in, and somebody else in those comments too, Mike, said that he's not interested in running quarterbacks, except he went and got Cam Newton to replace Tom Brady. So he's got to have a little bit of interest in guys who are mobile QBs.
Yeah, and I think it's something that New England could look at and probably should look at. They got the tight ends there. They got the offensive line there to put in front of Lamar Jackson and run something fun with them. But I don't know. That's just not typically their way of doing business. They haven't been a team that's been super aggressive on the trade market or been super even aggressive in free agency. They had those a couple years ago where they were picking all these guys up at the same time. But even those guys, they weren't like the top of the market that year, other than the tight ends, I guess you could say. We'll see what Bill Belichick's doing here. I just think it's interesting that they're not committing to Mac Jones. I think that it's interesting that there's definitely some room for Bill Belichick to be making a move at a quarterback, whether it's in the draft or Lamar Jackson or whoever becomes available next offseason, if Mac Jones isn't the guy he likes this year. And what really more is Mac Jones going to do to improve a ton? We saw those incidents with him on the sideline. I guess at the very minimum, be the leader that Bill Belichick wants you to be.
Yeah, Mike, I really think it is just that. I think Bill's trying to regain the power. He's looking around going like, dude, you're acting like you're QB1, like you've earned this because you went to the playoffs one time. I let you throw the ball 3 times in a football game. Like that only happened in like 1946.
And we
like,
won.
Yes, we won the game. So like, I think he just wants to say like, hey, nobody's safe at any position. But do we think that he's going to draft an edge rusher and be like, hey, Judon, take a back seat. You're
Yeah.
getting second reps here. No, there's certain players that are entrenched and that are starters on this team. But he's saying if you want to be the leader of this football team, you need to start acting like it and show me that this is your job. The one thing I would say is I don't know that they would invest the kind of money that it would take to get Lamar Jackson. But Colin Cowherd had a really good point. He was saying that Bill wants to catch Don Shula, and he's like 30-something, 31 wins away. That might be really far away with Mac Jones as your quarterback. And it might be 2 seasons away if Lamar Jackson is your quarterback. I thought that was a really good take, is like, hey, bring in a guy that you could win 13, 14, games with potentially at quarterback, as opposed to 3 6-win seasons with Mac, and then you just retire short of the record.
And I really feel that Lamar Jackson is a quarterback and one of the few in the league that would gel really well with Bill Belichick. It just seems like, the more and more generations that come, the more and more outgoing these players are getting, the more and more brand savvy these players are getting, all the stuff that Bill Belichick doesn't like. Lamar Jackson, he's brand savvy, he's all that, but he is also a hard-nosed football player, and he is going to listen to the greatest coach ever with every word and every waking breath.
Yeah, and I think that like the way Lamar plays football fits in so nicely, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like they want to run the football and play defense. They want to make smart decisions. Like a lot of times, I remember when I was younger, the argument was that Peyton Manning was way better than Tom Brady because Brady was just a game manager. He just take the check down, make the smart play, put the team in position to get Adam Vinatieri into field goal range or whatever. But Manning was the one putting up the crazy numbers. Well, they went and got him Randy Moss, and Tom Brady was like, hey, old boy can do it too. Mm-hmm. I can throw for 50 touchdowns if you go and get me the kind of player. So, like, they had more success when Brady was dinking and dunking to Edelman at the end, as opposed to opening it up more in that decade stretch where they weren't winning Super Bowls. So, like, the idea that he wouldn't like Lamar Jackson, who doesn't like an MVP of the NFL on their roster? Yeah. That's just stupid.
Yeah, and when he's healthy, the way Lamar Jackson likes to move the football, I feel like Bill Belichick can get really creative with his offensive coaching staff, and they're gonna have some fun stuff for Lamar in the rushing attack, especially as far as tricky plays. Well, we can just go ahead and continue this conversation on, because Lamar Jackson, as we've all been thinking a little bit, there's been hints of it. He's officially said that he wants to trade, and that he actually demanded a trade about a month ago now. On March 2nd was when he reportedly demanded a trade. Lamar Jackson may be more likely to be out of Baltimore now. This is getting crazy. And the craziest part is, Tony, is at the same time the news was breaking, and I don't know if Lamar did this on purpose and tweeted this out on purpose, that Lamar Jackson demanded a trade, John Harbaugh was answering questions about Lamar Jackson, saying how he wants him to be his quarterback forever and all this beautiful stuff about him. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't think these sides are anywhere near agreeing.
I don't think they are either, but you could tell they caught John Harbaugh off on that, because he was like, yeah, we want Lamar to be our guy. And they're like, are you following Lamar on Twitter? Because he's saying, and he's just like, well, I'm following it closely. And one thing I thought was like, you can see John Harbaugh he's one of those guys that looks refreshed and renewed as soon as the offseason hits. By about week 15, John Harbaugh just looks worn down of every NFL season. But then I saw him and I go, dude, this guy's been sleeping in. He's been playing some golf. He's not that worried about Lamar Jackson. He's not stressed out. So, like, yes, the Lamar Jackson situation is unprecedented, because I've never seen a quarterback at the peak like this demand in a fashion where it's like, so Deshaun Watson, in a semi-similar situation before everything went down, wanted out. But he had already signed an extension with Houston. He had already gotten whatever money he thought it was, and then he's gotten crazy more money from Cleveland. But he at least had some money tied to it. Lamar Jackson is just saying, like, I just want to be gone from the Ravens. Like, something must have happened so bad where he was just like, no, I never want to put this uniform on again. And that's That's weird. Like, to me, that's just like, I just assumed he would be a Raven for 12 years and be a Hall of Famer, maybe finish his career on some like strange, like play a season for, I don't know, the Lions or something like that. At the end, it would be like a team that reached to see if Lamar had one more season in his belt in like year 13. But this is strange.
It is, because I was leaning towards like, it's going to become a contract dispute. It might get ugly and even carry out into the season possibly. But I felt like he was going to extend with Baltimore also eventually. At some point, someone was going to budge at least a little bit for a deal to be done to keep him there. And him coming out and saying that, like, I'm demanding a trade. I'm kind of giving up on this. And I'm strategically putting this out exactly a month in front of this draft. So if Baltimore does decide, okay, we'll trade you, that's what you want, then that's what we'll give you. They're going to try and get it done before the NFL draft and get these picks and get a top 10 pick to draft maybe another quarterback, because now they're screwed. All the quarterbacks have went other places. I don't know what they're going to do at that position. It is interesting, though, because Lamar Jackson was expected to be in Baltimore until right this second, and now the door's cracked open. He might get traded. He's probably going to get traded, and I feel like that all teams been waiting is for that door to slightly crack open, and now everyone is going to be interested all of a sudden. He went from no interest in this trade to everyone's going to be in on it. The entire league almost.
Well, I would think so. I would think more teams would show some interest, right? Washington, Indianapolis, I think would be in that boat. Like, I gotta believe that Atlanta, as much as I like Desmond Ridder and I think he's good, why wouldn't they at least check in on what's going on there? Why wouldn't the Tampa Bay Buccaneers check in on what's going on in that situation? So it's very, very interesting, to say the least. I will say this, though. Like, Joe and I talked about this. Remember when we said 2 years ago when he was not playing and there was the injury? We were worried. We're like, is he sick or something? Because there was miscommunication with him and Harbaugh. And then the same thing in the offseason. They just cut off contracts. He's going to play out his fifth-year option. And everybody who knew the NFL really well was like, dude, why are you playing? You should not be playing right now. You should be sitting out till you are paid. And then we all applauded him. We're like, this guy's just going out there because he loves ball. And he's just going to go out there and dominate. And then he gets injured again and he shuts it down. And he doesn't travel with the team during the playoff game. He has not wanted to be a Raven for a long time.
I wish they would have done something sooner, because now they're in quite the predicament. Quite the predicament. Anyways, let's keep talking about quarterbacks, Tony.
Whew.
Also at these meetings that they were talking about, Mac Jones versus Bailey Zapp, they were asking the general manager of the 49ers, John Lynch, Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. And he, interesting enough, said that if the season started today, he feels that Brock Purdy will be the quarterback suiting up in game one. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? What do you think?
I had a very intense conversation about this yesterday because there's a lot of 49ers fans in my family. And so we're sitting around, and I was like, if Brock Purdy wins the job, or if for some reason Purdy can't start and Sam Darnold gets the nod, the Trey Lance will be the worst pick in like the history of the NFL, like worse than Jamarcus Russell, because they didn't give up 3 first-round picks for Jamarcus. Like, the 49ers, to me, would be insane to not give it one more try. Like, you clearly saw something where you were like, we're going to be able to bring this kid in. I know he comes from a smaller school. We're going to have him sit behind a pro like Jimmy, and when the time's ready, we're going to have next level QB play. Somebody with athletic ability, super strong arm. Just, we're going to have our version of Mahomes in Shanahan's offense. And now you're saying that Mr. Irrelevant is better than him after 2 like weird broken seasons of football? I can't imagine that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch want to admit that this pick has just totally been a bust. A complete and total bust.
And it's sad too, because I still feel Like a lot of people are super crazy high on Anthony Richardson, right? I think that Trey Lance had similar abilities to Anthony Richardson, all the stuff that they think that he's great at as an athlete, but he also had the cannon, and he has some ability to push the ball down the field and deliver accurate passes over the middle of the field. I really like Trey Lance coming into the league. I was a big fan of his. I even thought he had a chance to possibly be the best quarterback eventually, just especially thinking that he landed with the 49ers in such a perfect place. And it's all went to crap. It's almost gone as bad as it possibly can for him. The little bit that he got to play his rookie year, it just didn't look good. The team was built around a pocket passer and not Trey Lance. And then the next year he gets out there and finally is going. He lost that game in Chicago, and everyone started saying, uh-oh. And I'm like, hold on. He needs to play a couple games. And boom, leg goes out. And it's super sad what's happened to Trey Lance. I believe this is year 3 now, right?
We're gonna start year 3.
And he really hasn't played. He hasn't played at all, really. And I think that it's hurting them in a way that they went back a bunch to even get him in the first place. And it's hurting them even more to where if they do want to go with Brock Purdy, and they think that this guy is the future of the team, they can't even really trade Trey Lance anymore and get anything for him. Like he is a cuttable player at this point if you want to get him off your roster. I think that they would be dumb not to give Trey Lance another chance. He has not even gotten a chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think, again, this is a little bit of wanting to keep certain guys motivated. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't want to tell Trey, hey, this is just your job right now. They haven't even reported for any sort of – they want him showing up for voluntary mini camps this offseason. They want him showing up for voluntary offseason workouts. They want him saying, this is my job. I'm QB1. I'm the man. I will be here in this building. I will be leading this team opening day. Everything you guys thought you were getting, you're getting from me. I'm the man. You guys are going to be negotiating with me next summer to try and get me under a manageable contract because I'm taking this team to the Super Bowl. They want that energy from him. It's like the Trey Lance situation last year. He plays in a monsoon, then he breaks his ankle, and he's out. He's done for the year. So, like, I look at that and I go, that's not a real option. The year before that, they played Jimmy Garoppolo. They went really far. And we all thought, I have a fantasy team. I have a dynasty roster with this guy right here where I picked Trey Lance. And the only reason I'm not winning championships is because Trey Lance isn't getting the starts for the 49ers. So I believe that Trey will be just fine with the 49ers. Now, Mike, here's the question to you and everybody else in the chat. And I'm really curious about this. Is there a situation that anybody believes out there that Trey Lance could go to outside of the 49ers and be good? Because I've looked around and I'm like, I don't know if there's an offensive coordinator and an offensive scheme that I see that I'm like, ooh, trade him there and he'll be successful.
I don't know. I don't think I'd pick anywhere else if I had to pick a single spot for him to have the best chance to win a Super Bowl. I'll tell you that for sure. I mean, the 49ers.
Super Bowl, Mike.
You're talking about success.
Winning games, just winning, having a 10-win season next year or the year after that. Maybe
Philly?
the Lions?
Philly, well, no, they just do the same thing?
The team's got to need a future quarterback. He could, he could get his hooks on him and he'd win 10 games. I'm talking about a team like, like the Lions, a team that might be in the QB market, like Pete Carroll and the Seahawks, like the Falcons, the Bucks, the Colts. Shane Steichen. Could Shane Steichen get him and run a similar offense to what they ran with Jalen Hurts last year?
I think they could, especially with Jonathan Taylor there. But yeah, I agree with you. I think 49ers are the best spot for him to find success, and they just need to field him, man. They need to put him out there and see what he can do. I think that I was about to say that too. It was in the back of my head that the Niners might just be saying this, and John Lynch is saying this into a microphone just so that the wave kind of makes its way to Lance's phone, and he goes, oh, yeah, he really said that? Okay, and it's a little bit of extra motivation because we are gonna find out something about Trey Lance because he needs to be improved. He needs to be better than the last time we saw him, and the amount of time that now he's taken off, he needs to make up at the same time. Like, we can't be going into year 3 with a rookie quarterback. Trey Lance needs to be a year 3 quarterback for this team next year for them to have confidence in him, especially with Brock Purdy biting at his ankles, apparently.
Well, the funny thing is the quote you said was, if the season started today. If the season started today, his arm would still be in a sling.
Yeah,
John.
he wouldn't be doing that. Sam Darnold.
72 hours ago. Like, what are you talking about? The season started today. If the season started today, he'd be throwing left-handed because he just got his, like, whatever this ulna thing is replaced in his arm. So
Well,
I think it's funny here, and I would love to get Joe's opinion on this, but Zero put Raiders in the chat as a team
Trey
that
Lance.
he thinks that Trey Lance could go to and maybe have some success.
That's
I completely disagree with that, but it would be interesting, and I'd like to know what Joe would think of that.
Isn't that also Trey Lance's worst nightmare? Like all of a sudden now you're back in the locker room with Jimmy G again, and you just left, just got out from under his shadow that wasn't even that big.
Just like Undertaker's, like boom.
Yeah, he's like in practice with the scout team, and he just destroys Nick Bosa's ankles and throws a bomb down the sideline to one of the backup wide receivers, and then Jimmy G goes in there and throws a dump down to CMC, and CMC goes for 60 yards and scores. Yeah. And they just keep going back and forth.
Yeah, that's really how it was. Like, remember how excited we were? I think it was preseason last year. He threw that touchdown to Danny Gray. It was just like, it was such a beautiful ball and rotation, timing, in stride, the kind of touchdown that you can get excited about, you know? And last year was a complete and total waste.
And he was really good in the preseason game against us. Remember? I think it was rookie year. Was the year after?
Yeah, he was okay in that game. He threw some hot passes. He threw an interception to Asante. Like, he wasn't great. He was still kind of throwing a lot.
Yeah, that one was overthrown. I remember just one specifically. I think it was like Travis Benjamin or somebody over the middle. It was a really good throw.
He's capable. He definitely is. In the perfect situation. I mean, we both agreed on the last show, Mike, that Ben Roethlisberger could have dusted the cobweb off in one games with the 49ers. So really, we're just saying like a warm body that knows NFL football that's slightly above Nick Mullins is going to win 10 games with the 49ers.
With his 8-pack.
Yeah, there you go.
His 8-pack.
8-pack of Schlitz, malt liquor. What is he drinking? Ben hasn't had an 8-pack ever.
All right, we got two more topics, y'all. We're going to talk some Chargers talk here. A lot of stuff going on with the Bolts, and then we're going to finish off the show with the Q&A. We're making good time today, Tony, so I'm going to try and keep us, on track here the best I can. But here we go, right? We could probably talk about this forever. Where do you want to start? Drew Tranquill first? You hear Drew Tranquill is being an asshole right now?
So I disagree with you, Mike. What do you want him to do? Do you want him to go there and like reminisce and wax poetically about his time with the Chargers? A team that basically said to him, like, we think a 31-year-old, soon to be 32-year-old linebacker is better than you in the prime of your career. Like, do you want him to just be okay with it?
No, be happy, right? Do the Chiefs Kingdom thing and whoa, and all their bullshit that they do there that I had to listen to at the Super Bowl. But you could just keep, us out of the conversation. Like, he posted something on Instagram today where he said that he's glad to be on the right side of Arrowhead now. Like, what's that?
Maybe legit it is like the right side as opposed to the left side.
Right, and you know what he's trying to say.
I know exactly what he's saying. He's taking a shot at the Chargers, and it probably is going to get some people in their feelings. But you got to understand, he wanted to be a Charger. Like, he's not a Chief because he wanted to be. He wanted to be probably many other things too, to make more than the contract that he got. $3 million with a potentially $5 million. That's the problem. Is like the season he had. If he would have had that 10 years ago, he would have gotten a massive contract. Yeah. But just now, the way everything's trending, linebackers and running backs, they're basically saying like, "Hey, you're gonna potentially get CTE for the league minimum. You're gonna potentially end up with like long-term knee dysfunction, neck, ankle dislocation, all of this stuff for the minimum amount of money to play this super violent game." And that's a trade that you make. I get it. It's all in the cards. But those two positions, the value is just plummeting for what those guys are getting paid. It's outside of who? Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, which we'll see if those contracts were smart.
Same team.
Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But like middle linebackers are not getting paid money like they used to be. I grew up in an era where like middle linebacker, that was almost as cool as being the running back. Like those two positions where you wanted to be, Mike Singletary.
Yeah.
I could just run through the Bears' history of linebackers, even all the way up into Luke Kuechly. Like that was the spot. That was the dream. You wanted to be that guy that was just a killer, just a hunter, even though personally I never had that in me. Never.
Yeah, and it is bad luck for Drew that that's happened because he is coming off his only fully healthy, perfect year where we got to see him and what he can do at his max potential. But Drew's gone. See you later, buddy. You're on the right side of Arrowhead now. Have fun over there.
I hope he does fine in like 15 out of 17 games.
I hope he does great, but they just let him go, just like they did you. Like go to New England now. You know what I mean? Go somewhere else. But anyways, let's talk about someone that is still a Charger as of today, at least. All right. Brandon Staley, at the same meetings previously mentioned, said that the Chargers are working on keeping Austin Ekeler in town. I don't know what that means exactly. If that means they're trying to get an extension done, or if that means that they're just saying, hey, Austin, we're going to let you walk out the door, kind of like we've done with other players. And I think that's what's going to happen. I've told people it's happened with Melvin Ingram, Melvin Gordon, Hunter Henry. They do this thing where expiring contracts that they don't want to extend, they go, hey, we'll pay you 1 year, $10 million. Just play this thing out for us, please. And I think that's the path that we might be going down. But what's your thoughts on Brendan Staley kind of now committing to trying to keep Ekeler in town versus we were hearing all of Ekeler stuff before, which is obviously going to be, I'm looking for a new place and relentlessly pursuing that.
So here's what my hope. My hope is that he went to them and said, hey, I want a 2-year extension, $24 million. And they were like, wait, you want to get paid like an average of $10 million, $11 million a season over the next few? And he was like, no, they're like, that's not going to happen. Go check the market. Ekeler went out there. He did check the market and realized nobody was going to give him that kind of money. And now he comes back and the Chargers say, hey, here's what we are willing to do. We are willing to pay you $8 million a season for 2 years on top of this one. So they extend him out and he averages $8 million, $8.5 million over the next 3 seasons. Like, to me, that's all realistic. It's what you want in there. And we've talked about this, me and you privately. Good organizations trying to win a Super Bowl, don't push 40 touchdowns out the door. You don't do that. That's bad business. It is bad. Like your backups are Josh Kelly, who I think his career average is like 2.4 yards per carry, and Isaiah Spiller, who couldn't beat out 2.4 yards a carry. So like that is what you have behind him. The drop off, it's not even a drop off. It's like, here's Austin Ekeler. Here, everybody else is off the screen. You can't see that. It doesn't make any sense.
And I like the numbers that you're saying. I like that range too. And I'm not, obviously a GM. I don't know nothing about cap space or contracts in the NFL, but based off what other running backs kind of get and the roles they play in their offenses and the age and the wear and tear and all that stuff put together, it feels like, $8 million per year, $10 million per year for one of the years with $8 million the rest of the years. That seems like a ballpark area where Ekeler could get if he was to leave. It's just, are the Chargers going to match that? I think that the more and more that we see them kind of play hardball with Ekeler, especially if we see that news break, just keep an eye on it that he is locked in for 1 year, whatever amount, the more chances there are that the Chargers are thinking about drafting a running back in the first round this year. And we talked about this a bunch of times. So imagine we get Ekeler to extend for your $8 million per year. Pray and hope. And then we also have Bijan Robinson. That's a perfect situation, in my opinion.
It's not the perfect situation. It's not, because there'd probably be some way where they could still cut him, and I want Austin Ekeler on the team. He's 30 years old. That's what I want for the team. And I believe he'll still be productive. Like, you go in, I was looking at it because Joe was telling me, wouldn't you rather have Delvin Cook? Delvin Cook has like 400 more carries on his body than Austin Ekeler. That's like 2 seasons for Ekeler carrying the football. Like, that's a big difference when you have those type of things. Eckler's also pretty smart about trying to avoid big collisions and stuff, though he can deliver a little bit of thump. The thing is, when I look at it, it's like what's the plan for the Chargers? Is to win right now. That's then this whole thing. Like the Chargers are going all in for doing all this stuff. It's like, okay, then why isn't this guy part of that plan in an offensive league? I don't get it.
Especially with Kellen Moore, who has used the running backs as good as anyone in the league the last couple of years. I mean, a lot of people complain about Zeke and his contract and all that. And yeah, he's getting overpaid, but Zeke is still a very, very good running back in that Dallas offense the last couple of seasons. And Tony Pollard is a breakout star damn near out of that offense, and he has a similar skill set to Ekeler. So why wouldn't you want Ekeler to be there to help out the coach that you're investing in now, that you've brought in here and said, this is Herbert's third offensive coach and the third offense he has to learn, and we want it to be the last, but we're going to take away the running attack right there on day one.
There's also this booty bandit is saying that we need wide receivers. I don't think that's a pressing need. Like, I just don't. I do think they should draft at least one wide receiver, but not anybody that we would think needs to get reps right away to start the season.
Did you actually post this, Zero? He had to post Joe's I'm a Charger fan clip.
Good.
I hope he did.
I'm glad he did. Zero was up there talking smack about Kevontae Turpin lighting us up.
Yeah, that's preseason talk. We're already out on the preseason talk. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the wide receiver need isn't as crazy as people. It's over dramatized because last year we hit a point where DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer were our starting wide receivers for a few games. But you guys got to understand that took 3 wide receivers to get injured before we got to that point. We're hoping, and you don't plan for that to happen every single season. I don't think they need receivers as much either. I think that they just need to replace Jalen Guyton with a serviceable deep threat. That's the biggest need for me at wide receiver.
Yeah, I just think they need to get somebody young and athletic and an explosive playmaker. So I'll be happy if they take Zay Flowers, or if they go in the second round and they get Josh Downs or Tank Dell or somebody like that that's going to be a playmaker. Or even if they wait a little bit longer and they get, Marvin Mims. I've liked him. Scott from Cincinnati. Like there's a lot of guys in this draft that it's like, oh, you can add this explosive, athletic playmaker, and Herbert will do the rest. Like it's what great quarterbacks do.
And Booty Bandit, adding a tight end is just as good as adding a receiver sometimes, man. So the Chargers do kind of have a need there with Gerald Everett's contract kind of expiring. And Everett's more of a receiver. He does more than he did in previous spots, but I think that he's more of a receiving tight end. They need to get a guy that can do both. All right, guys, go ahead. Drop some questions in the chat. We're going to switch to Q&A here for a second before we sign off, and we'll answer any of your questions. You guys are over here in the TikTok chat. Come over to the YouTube chat. We can't see this chat, but anyways, let's see if anyone drops any questions.
Well, while you're doing that, I just want to know. I just wanted to see if you noticed this. Like every mock draft I'm seeing has like 8 to 9 tackles in the first round of the draft this year. Like every single mock draft. And so like the more that we go that way, so you look at, I think that the best position for any team that's later in this, like if the Chargers are 21, why wouldn't they consider trading back and getting more picks? Because what's happening is the Chargers have a quarterback premium. Everybody's trying to get that. They have their tackles figured out. Like, why aren't they getting back into the bulk when all of a sudden you're going to get there and you might have end up with 4 picks between 30 and 80 and go get yourself a wide receiver, a couple of pass rushers, get yourself a safety at that point. Like, you can get a lot of your talent. You can get 4 starters from 30 to 80 because all the premium positions in these mock drafts. Like, I'm seeing some edge rushers that were top 10 picks on mock drafts, Mike, and now they're not even in the first round.
Yeah, that's what the one way that the board is falling for us right now. All those tackles, all the quarterback drama, like it's helping us out here in the 20s, where a lot of these positions are going to fall, and they're positions that we can use now. So, running back, tight end, wide receiver, there's positions are going to be available, like you're saying, in the rounds after the first round. And I like that idea as well. I wouldn't mind trading back and they get whoever at 28, 29, or maybe even 34. Let's say they pick up a wide receiver at 34 and we get a couple extra picks out of it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. You still draft a similar player or the same player that you were going to draft.
Yeah, to me, there's not that major difference between Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, and then waiting to get to that next round of players that are like that, right? Like, I really like them, but I don't think that it's like that drastic of a fall off because you got Justin Herbert throwing him the football.
Mm-hmm. He elevates them. You'll find out that Kellen Moore is a complete degenerate when it comes to play calling at times. I've heard this from Dallas fan Zero, but it doesn't get worse than Joe Lombardi. So I'm sure me and Tony will be happy with whatever Kellen Moore gives us, as long as it's not all hitches.
Well, yeah. Also, too, like he was going into those fights with a pocket knife. He now has a machete.
Yeah.
How you feel about the play is, you got you're painting with a different paintbrush over here in LA. That's all I'm saying.
If you're Lamar Jackson, would you rather go to the Jets with those weapons or New England with Bill Belichick?
This is here's the thing I think that's weird because he mentions, would you rather go to the Jets with those weapons or go to New England with a defensive coordinator? So it's like if I'm Lamar Jackson, I want to go where there's a rich tradition of winning, which is not the New York Jets. So that would be my answer. The only thing is like if I say, hey, Bill, I'm coming here, I also need you to go sign OBJ, or I need you to trade for DeAndre Hopkins, or I need you to guarantee that you're going to do this certain thing for me in free agency. But where would you go if you were him?
You see, I would probably go where it would be fun to play if they're offering me the same amount of money and everything like that. So I think it'd be more fun in New York. I think Robert Saleh is a super fun coach to play for, super motivating coach to play for. I think I would pick the Jets because, yes, the Jets have a history of losing, but maybe Lamar could be the guy that's known for changing that history. Also, I think that this upcoming Jets team next year is maybe the best Jets team I've seen in my life. So they just need a quarterback. They just need a quarterback.
Way better than any Jets team you've seen in the last 12
years. They just need a quarterback. That's what Zach Wilson. So once they get a quarterback in there, I think that'll even take it to the next level. But I think that
Joe Flacco looked like a better option in that.
What was I saying about Joe Flacco last year? I was doing some kind of crazy nonsense about Joe Flacco last year. You remember? It was something. I drafted him in the fantasy league or something happened.
And here's the thing with the Jets is that like we all think that it would be more fun, but we are not the ones who have to be on the front page, the back page, or the news, be in New York. If it goes sideways for you, New York's a really bad place for things not to work out in.
Oh, man. Brian Gutekunst just said that he tried to speak with, I don't know, just came across my screen that he tried to speak with Rodgers, and Rodgers didn't answer the phone. Thoughts on the Dolphins? Maybe he's doing something.
What does he have to say, though? Like, what does Rodgers have to say? Trade me, bro. Like,
well, they also asked Gutekunst if there's any chance Rodgers plays for the Packers next year, and he said there's a chance. So he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, honestly. Thoughts on the Dolphins offseason and record prediction? Because I'm tired of talking about Aaron Rodgers, honestly. Dolphins offseason, Tony.
Big fan of this. I thought they did a good job. They brought back – it's not necessarily like you're not excited that they brought back all four of those running backs that they had on the roster last year. But to me, they still were able to have a functional running game. They signed the linebacker from Tennessee, I believe, which is a nice piece there. Really, the big addition is the defensive coordinator. It's bringing in Vic Fangio. So, like, if you have that, I think also that the Dolphins are in a good spot to go get themselves, like, a tight end in this draft that is going to play football the way that he likes the tight end to play football, where they're still effective. They're going to catch 40 balls on the season, but they're going to be, like, just dominating in the run game, and that's going to help. That's going to bring another element to the Dolphins. I would say right now, if you set it at 10.5 wins for the Dolphins, I would err on the side of over. Like if it was 10.5 wins, I would err on that side of over. I think Tua's going to stay healthy this year.
I'm with you, and I think that's the biggest thing for them is can Tua stay healthy. I think the defense will be improved. I think that the secondary will be even better adding Jalen Ramsey. He's not washed. He's not this loser cornerback. He's still very good. It just would be great if they had a first-round pick. They got their first-round pick stripped because of the tampering thing. They'd be picking, I think, a pick before us if they had a pick. It feels like they could add one more piece there, but there's going to be guys available in the later rounds and in the second round of the draft for them. So I'm with you. I think, honestly, right now, I'm liking the Dolphins almost equally to the Bills, and I've overrated the Bills, in my opinion, over the last couple of years. So
I think the closer we get to the season, I'm probably going to have the Dolphins winning the division.
Yeah, I think it's going to be –
defense is going to be improved quite nicely.
I do also. I think it's going to be really close, too. I think it's going to be one game, maybe, wins the division.
And the Dolphins, too, might be able to get a couple more veterans to come down there, so sort of on that final wave of free agency. If they can get Bryce Callahan to reunite with him, now they're adding another. Now they have a slot corner to go with Ramsey and Howard. Like that trio of corners is going to be real nice, and it'll be interesting to see if they add another safety to be back there with Javon Holland to give him a little more flexibility. But you already have Jalen Ramsey, so you have that guy that's going to kind of be that chess piece that Fangio likes to play with. And I have seen The Lion King. My daughter's name is Nala. I love The Lion King.
Want a little bit of Kyle Van Noy in Miami again?
No, I want Kyle Van Noy back on the Chargers. So, Kyle, do what you got to do. Look for real estate. Look for good opportunities to buy, and keep working out here.
Tony, did you win the league from the cutout back there?
What is it?
The league. You got your team back there. I think it's the Vegas League. Did you win?
No. Got robbed. Remember, that was the week where all Devontae Adams fell off a cliff. Tyreek Hill didn't do anything.
Yeah, your super team you got back there.
I was dominating.
Adams Hill. I see McCaffrey Adams Hill as the first 3 picks.
Yeah, my draft was amazing. I had the best record in the league, and I would have won. I crushed my first. I had a bye in week 1. Week 2, didn't get it, and I would have won the finals by 60 points because my team came back. That was, I think, Jared Stidham week came in and went off with all bad news.
That sucks for you because I see Breece Hall's in that team too. That could have been a
Here's
team.
The real winner, Kirk Cousins, right there. That's the dark horse. That's how I was able to win. Everybody was like, "What's Tony doing? Why is he waiting on quarterback?" Kirk Cousins, top 10 fantasy QB.
Congrats, Mar Truckers.
Yeah.
You know who's top 10 next year? Dak Prescott, baby. Also, if you were in New York with the stalemate that the Rodgers, do you bail or shift your priorities? I would have bailed, yes. But what do you think, Tony? I would bail because this thing is going all kinds of different directions. And I personally don't think Rodgers is even fully invested in the Jets. I feel like he's only going to the Jets because the Jets are the only team that will trade for him right now.
Sure. I do think there's a little bit of that. I do think that there's not a lot of teams that expressed interest in him and wanting to deal with that. I really thought the Dolphins might be a bigger player. They were not. And the Raiders didn't want to they couldn't take on all that money that he has in the contract. What's the Jets' option, Mike? Run it back with Zach Wilson? Is that what because you look around, even Sam Darnold's of the world, you're getting below that on who's available. Carson Wentz, this is who's available to be taking snaps for you at QB next year. There's no pivot. And this idea, it'd be nice, Lamar Jackson, maybe after the draft, it goes by, Lamar Jackson's still out there. You still haven't had Aaron Rodgers. But you already signed his guy, Allen Lazard, to a crazy contract and traded away, in my opinion, a better wide receiver on a rookie deal. So you can't. You're already fully committed to this. They gave away Elijah Moore, who I believe is going to go to Cleveland and have the year I thought he was going to have last year. Remember I drafted Elijah Moore in like 6 fantasy teams last year. I was like, this kid is going to hit a home run. All the attention is going to go to Garrett Wilson. Elijah Moore is going to catch 95 balls for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. He's going to crush this year. He was dog excrement in that offense. It was not his fault. It was not his fault.
Yeah, well, I was looking at it as, would I shift my priorities, bail on Rodgers for Lamar specifically? I would, yes. But yeah, there's no one else there. I still think that Derek Carr was their best option. Derek Carr would have been a good fit there in New York.
But you didn't bring in Nathaniel Hackett to have a similar result that Hackett had with Russell Wilson.
They're in on Rodgers, guys.
Yeah.
So it's gonna happen, and I think that they'll pay whatever the price is that they need to pay to do it. Both will be great. Okay, well, this was earlier. Yeah, I think we both will be happy with Zay Flowers. Tony was saying he was. I will be happy.
Yeah, I will be happy with, like, there's 2 or 3 guys defensively that I would be okay with, and I'll be happy if it's really anybody offensively. Like, as long as they don't do something crazy where they pull a Belichick and they draft Tucker Kraft in the first round, where it's like, wait, what? Hold on. Why are we drafting Cole Strange in the first round? Like, that's not what we want.
Isn't Tucker Kraft that tight end that's like way down there?
Well,
he's good. He's
probably
not
like a 3rd round.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of a guy that would be great for the Miami Dolphins, right? Like, he's going to block. But he's also a good pass catcher. He's from North Dakota State. Like, he's a good player. And he might be on the Chargers in the 3rd round. I'm just giving an example of, like, if they reached on a guy that they just had to have offense.
Seattle at 5. Would you highly consider a quarterback, specifically Richardson? Personally, if I was the Seahawks, I would draft a player that's not a quarterback, because I think that the Seattle Seahawks at 5 are going to get the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. That's not a quarterback. And it may be the Cardinals are dumb enough to trade back, or they don't take Will Anderson, and Seattle gets him at the 5th pick. Can't even imagine that.
Mike, I'm fully on board with you. That I think, honestly, John Schneider has done everything he could to try and get an opportunity to trade back and get more. John Schneider goes, he goes, Pete Carroll said it too. How often do we get to pick this high in the draft? So we definitely have to be looking at quarterback. Bullshit, boys. Because you guys won with a 3rd round pick and Russell Wilson, and you have Geno Smith under contract, a favorable contract to you. It's not like you're paying him top of the QB market money. And they know how close they are to getting that defense back to where he likes it. They brought back Bobby Wagner to help out in that section. They believe at some point Jamal Adams is going to be able to be on the field and bring some more thump to that football team and help them tackle. So you're telling me that the Seahawks could bait somebody into thinking that they're going to take Anthony Richardson at 5, and that team's going to trade up for them. They're going to get more capital, and then they're still going to end up being able to bring in Christian Gonzalez, or they're going to be able to bring in Lucas Van Ness, an edge rusher there. They're going to be able to bring in one of those guys, like defensively, and now all of a sudden, Legion of Boom is back in business.
Yeah, their business is going to be booming once again. They also got Tyreek Woolen, home run pick from last year. I think he's only going to get better, and his skill set's only going to get better as he progresses. And people forget, Quandre Diggs is quietly one of the best safeties in football back there, and he loves playing in Seattle, and he fits that defense very perfectly. If we're talking about just a free-range safety in the middle of the field, like who? Earl Thomas. Here we go again. So, I like it.
They got that other corner from – didn't they get the corner from Cincinnati? Didn't they get Kobe Bryant?
Yep.
Well, he played real nice football. He's going to get a little bit better. Now, all of a sudden, if you can bring in – what if they get Branch from Alabama, where he's somebody that they can play at safety or nickel, or they have a little bit of flexibility? I honestly think that they would bring in the edge rusher. Like, if they trade back and they could bring in Tyree Wilson or one of those level players. Maybe they like Nolan Smith. Maybe they want to bring in that speed on the edge opposite of Nwosu.
I've seen some mocks where they go after Wilson. They go back and go after Wilson, so we'll see.
Yeah, or they fall back and Jalen Carter tumbles. They for whatever reason they trade back far enough, and
put him right there in the middle. Packers want a first for Rodgers, and you can get Lamar for 2 firsts. To me, Lamar is worth the extra first. I think this is on the previous topic.
He's on to something there. Do you want to if you give up a first round for Aaron Rodgers? There's it feels like a better than 50% chance Aaron Rodgers just retires. He just walks away, and the next time we see him, he's on the continent of Antarctica, in a tent doing a remote podcast. Lamar Jackson, you're going to have him on your team for 5-6 years. You're going to be able to withstand giving up first round picks. I agree. I would go Lamar.
Yeah. You'll make first round picks with Lamar on your team. You probably won't make any with Rodgers. Exactly 1 month away until the draft. Yes, very excited. Me and Tony are going to plan something. Tony, what are we going to do this year for the draft? We did it in person last year.
Yeah, I think we should do the same thing. It depends on how things are going. But
you can come over to my place. If Anderson falls, no brainer. Bijan Robinson coming to Dallas. This is a take we put on the MJT channel from Tony. Tony was saying it makes sense for the Cowboys to go after Bijan Robinson. I think it's a good fit now that Zeke's out of there.
I think it's a great fit, and it's too simple, right? Because at the same time, it's every about doing seems to be going towards playing defense and running the football. And he's the one guy that you could get in the first round that would be similar to what Zeke was. Because people forget how good Zeke was good at catching the football and running between the tackles and running to hitting the edge. Before he lost his burst, Zeke was really good. The problem is that Zeke didn't learn what most running backs who have any sort of longevity learn. Stop trying to hit these big dudes. Fall to the ground. Go back and watch Emmitt Smith's tape. This man was smart. I'm going to get 12 yards, and I'm going to fall down. I'm going to make a business decision because I'm trying to play this game for a long time. And Emmitt Smith was very, very good at that. Zeke was knocking dudes out, and that's not good for your body.
Yeah, he was bouncing right off guys and continuing down the field and bouncing off more guys. His rookie year and his second year, that guy was phenomenal. And I encourage you to go to watch especially Zeke Ohio State clips. Those are the best. That's where he really was ridiculous because everyone around him wasn't as good. He got to the NFL and they caught up a little bit. But who's the best Cowboy of all time, Tony? That's a question for me.
The best Cowboy of all time? I think it has to be Emmitt Smith. I don't really know.
It's Dak.
What?
It's Dak. It's Dakota Prescott.
Dak Prescott isn't in the top 25 Dallas Cowboys of all time. Just off the top of my head, he's somewhere between Jay Novacek and Alvin Harper. That's not even a joke.
I don't know who that is.
Exactly. They've got more Hall of Famers that I can't even name that would be on that list before Dakota Prescott.
I'm working on my all-time Cowboys video right now, and I just want to say Dak just to troll everybody. Daryl Henderson Jr. This is a random question, Zero. I don't know. I don't think he's doing anything.
He'll end up on somebody's roster for sure. He's got a couple good years. I mean,
Yeah, depth years left in him.
Yeah, he'll carry the ball a little bit. His career just kind of got shot from injuries. I thought he had a real shot to be good with the Rams for a minute.
Well, that does it.
Thank you, Booty Bandit. Zero. This Dak is the right choice. Nah.
Appreciate you tuning in. Stay tuned for my greatest Cowboy of all time video dropping soon on TikTok. Get excited.
You can end it whenever you want. If you're listening to this on the audio version, come on over. MJT Football. Hit the subscribe button.
Hopefully I get that video out before TikTok gets banned. But just to prove that I'm a better host than Tony Tucker, I'm going to kill an extra couple seconds here so that we end this live on an hour exactly on the dot. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. Tony, you don't get any last words. I'm ending it.